There is no one else on the internet who is going to bring you into a meeting, a live meeting right now of the Democratic Socialists of America in New York City. We are going into their live celebration call. This is a live meeting. This is a spy stream. We are infiltrating a live call with the New York Democratic Socialists of America after last night's election, and you are going to see them work in real time, and we are the only people on the internet that are going to do this. Welcome to Spy Stream. Welcome to Spy Stream, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Spy Stream. Hang on one second. Hang on. They gotta let me in. Yo, Axed! W's, bro. Guys, I won't be talking over the call, so we can get a good recording, but if you send in stuff, I will acknowledge it, I promise. Just not during the call, okay? Just not during the call. Hang on one sec. Who's excited? One in the chat if you're excited, two in the chat if you think this is dumb and lame.
A lonely hunter, hot long summer day, we're just sneaking by the river.
Welcome. My name's Gustavo. We're gonna get started at 8:05. So having people join, so we'll give them another minute.
Well, it's hard. Gypsy bit the dust, nothing shitty headed with poison. Now everybody wants just a taste of what we started. Standing on the rooftop.
Everyone put on your sunglasses, we're spying.
We're just yelling till the morning. All surrounded by the vision of all who came before them. Living in the city.
We're waiting a couple of more minutes for we'll get started at 8:05.
I bet the people who left are feeling pretty fucking stupid.
In the city, hard. Oh, it's hard.
Actually, I'm gonna wear these. Sunglasses. Can't make up my mind.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up. And they stay there. Cause all I do is win. And if you going in, put your hands in the air. Ludacris going in on the verse, cause I never been defeated and I won't stop now. Keep your hands up, keep them in the sky for the homies that ain't making it, my folks locked down. down. I never went nowhere. What they say in Luda's back. Blame it on that contour. The hood call it Luda Yak. And I'm on this foolish track. So I spit my foolish flow. My hands go up and down like strippers' booties go. My verses still be serving like a million virgins. Last time on a college remix. Now I'm on the original version. Can't never count me out. Y'all better count me in. Got 20 bank accounts. Accountant count me in. Make millions every year. But South can't be in. Cause all I do, all I do is win, 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 no matter what.
All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Gustavo. I'm one of the co-chairs of the New York City Democratic Socialists of America. I couldn't be happier to be on this call with you all. I feel like I've been in a prolonged state of political euphoria since last night, and I hope many of you are too. For me, I think as socialists, we should excise moral victories from our vocabulary. It's really important to have real W's to organize the working class, in my opinion. And I'm so proud of the movement that we've built since the mayoral campaign, since going back to 2016. We've really built a historic force here in New York for the working class. And if you're just joining us today, I think that the way I got into DSA in a really deep way was when I saw my efforts contribute, in a small way to AOC's victory in 2018. That was a moment of political awakening for me. And I think that these nights like yesterday operate as moments of political awakening for so many people. And every time we have a win, it's an opportunity to welcome new members into the organization. And ultimately, it's building the organization that allows us to elect new leaders, to pass transformative reforms, to organize the working class and give people the tools to govern for themselves. So it's really important that after a win, we take a moment to debrief, to think through what we did, what went wrong, what went well, and also to expand our ranks, because that's the only way that we're going to keep this movement going. So today we're going to be making some asks. So if you're not a member of DSA, now's the best time there's ever been to join New York City DSA. If someone wants to drop a link in the chat, we're going to be hearing from other speakers tonight, and they're going to talk about what brought them into New York City DSA as well. We have some more news. We're not done winning this week. There have been a series of hearings for the past month by the Rent Guidelines Board in New York City to consider whether to freeze the rent or implement a rent hike. And tomorrow will be the final hearing. And we expect a rent freeze to go into effect, to be approved by the Rent Guidelines Board tomorrow. So we're also going to be dropping some links for you to join that hearing tomorrow. But I really want to urge you to join New York City DSA if you haven't yet. And if you are a member, we'll have plenty of ways for you to keep plugging in after we hear more from some of the leaders in the organization. I'm going to pass it on to my fellow co-chair, Grace, who's going to do an overview of our history.
Hi, thanks, Gustavo. Yeah, it's been an incredible couple of days here. Let's go to the next slide. We just want to note that everyone is welcome on this call. Some of y'all are members, some aren't. There's maybe even press here. So welcome, friends, welcome, comrades. Please welcome anyone you think might be interested to join the call. You can do that at dsa.nyc/victory call. And this next slide actually gives some QR codes for how you can do some of those things that Gustavo was just talking about, joining DSA, becoming a member, becoming part of this movement. And also, if you're in New York City or you're local, joining the rent freeze hearing tomorrow, where we're gonna win, knock on wood, one of Zoran's signature campaign promises and something DSA and many movement organizers have fought for a long time. But now let's talk a little bit about how we got to our victories last night. So DSA, and particularly New York City DSA, has been building for a very long time, and it hasn't always been a history of pure W's, but I think we always lose up when we do lose, which I think is a really important lesson for people across the country and across the world. But we really started getting more serious about electoral organizing in 2016, following the Bernie running for president, a surge of membership, also, of course, Trump's harrowing and traumatic victory that year. And organizers in New York City said, hey, what if the left won some races? What would that look like? How do we do it? In 2017, we put that into action. We ran and we lost in 2 city council races, but we learned a lot. We learned that we could do this and that we should do this, and that in many ways, leftists, socialists, people who are committed to being organizers in the sense that we teach our skills to other people are better at doing it than the so-called political class. And that came to fruition in 2018 when we won both AOC and Congress and Julia Salazar's seat for the state Senate. Julia Salazar's race in particular was top to bottom a DSA race. Staff was all DSA members, especially early on. Field leads were all DSA. It was truly a DSA operation, and it was our first socialist in office. We sent her to Albany by herself for 2 lonely years, but she was only alone for a bit. In 2019, we expanded ourselves. We ran for DA of Queens. It was a huge, huge race. We stretched ourselves so much, but we lost, and we lost by 55 votes. That is still something we reference today because every door counts. Every door knocked, every phone call made matter. You could literally lose a massive race if you don't get your nose to the grindstone and keep going. 2020 was a huge year for us. This was a year we said, okay, if we won in 2018, what if we went bigger? We ran a slate of 4 legislative candidates. We swept them, in part because of anger around COVID, in part because of George Floyd uprisings. And this was really how we formed what is now our Socialists in Office Committee and the keystone of our co-governance inside-outside project. Inside-outside organizing is when you have people in the halls of power that work with movement organizers on the outside, and we feed into each other. We kept building on this, 2021, 22, 23. We won a lot of races these years, but we also lost, in some cases, more than we won. And that hurt, but we never lost any territory. We defended our incumbents. We grew every year. But even when we lost, because we're so committed to teaching our skills to other people, to bringing new organizers in behind us, I think we always lost upward. We always lost in a way that made us bigger, and we lost in a way that still put more people into office in a lot of cases, enabling us to pass big pieces of legislation like the Build Public Renewables Act. In 2024, we also passed good cause eviction, another big piece of legislation. All these losses and building and things turning in the background enabled us to win big in 2025 when Zoran won. And again, this year, we really stretched ourselves. We ran 10 candidates and 2 congressional candidates. It was kind of crazy, but apparently not that crazy because we won almost all of those races. But we did that because we have built a strong foundation every single year for the past decade. Every single time we make sure we have dozens more people in every campaign. And in Zoran's case, hundreds more people who have the skills to maybe spearhead their own effort, to be field leads, to be higher level field coordinators, people who are really creating strategy. And that is how we're able to scale to do something like what we achieved last night, where we pulled off a massive victory, not only in New York, but I think something that will reverberate across the country. Next slide. So how we're doing this, I touched on a lot already, but we do this by being committed to being a mass organization, a democratic organization that not only makes decisions together through votes, through serious deliberation, but that teaches each other our skills. Almost everything I've learned as an organizer, I know because other people in DSA have taken the time to teach me. And that's how we get political leaders and organizers who are not only talented, but know how to replicate themselves. We're also really trying to build a party-like institution that is working for the working class. I think you see this really strongly when people like Claire Valdez in particular are running and winning congressional races. Claire, who's about to come on, was a leader in DSA. She was on our steering committee. She was a field lead and a field coordinator for other races before she became a candidate herself. And then finally, we of course have a popular platform that speaks to people's material conditions and that challenges the status quo. No one likes incumbents. No one likes what's happening in American politics. And if you tap into that with something that really goes to what people feel like they need, their housing, their childcare, their grocery cost, you're going to be able to connect with people not only who think of themselves as progressive or socialist already, but people who don't, but are willing to try something new. So I'm hoping Claire is on doing, she is beautiful. So I'm going to pass to one of our cadre candidates, a winner from last night, a great friend and mentor to many, Claire Valdez, who is coming to us hot from her victory tour. Claire, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, I am.
Yay, thank you for being here, Claire. We are eager to hear from you.
Amazing. Okay, hi everyone. Sorry, I'm in a car coming up back from a CNN interview. Life is so funny. But it's really incredible to see, wow, 1,000 people on this call. Thank you all for taking some time out of your evening to speak with us and to hear about DSA. Grace just said a lot of this, but you know, I joined DSA in 2019. At the time, we only had one socialist in office, Julia Salazar, and of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And it was really seeing their races that inspired me to join. I saw not just two proud Latina socialists win their seats, but this whole groundswell of everyday people coming together to organize against the establishment and win. I was a door knocker for Bernie Sanders. I knocked doors for Tiffany Caban, field coordinator for Sammy Nimero-Olivars in 2022. And like Grace said, not every one of these races won, but in every single campaign, what we did was the incredibly hard work of developing new organizers. And I like to point to my own story as an example, someone who was terrified to knock a door at first, but was encouraged to come back by really generous and kind field leads, was terrified to take the step to become a field lead myself, but was encouraged by others to take the plunge. Was terrified when I was asked to run for office and to run for a state assembly, but had gone through this process of being asked again and again to do something that might be uncomfortable, might be scary, might be hard. But when you are organized by people who care deeply about the working class, who see political potential in you and who want you to see that in yourself, that is how we win. That is how we create a durable organization that is ready for moments when someone decides they want to run for mayor as a Democratic Socialist and is able to kind of mobilize 100,000 people to go out and knock doors. When we have this movement of people who who I think deeply and truly feel themselves as powerful political people, that is exactly how we transform our world. Because individual campaigns are not going to do that as much as they, get people to come out and volunteer and learn how to organize and meet their neighbors. All of that is incredible, but we need a durable socialist movement if we're going to abolish ICE, if we're going to end the genocide, if we're going to create a New York, a world in which working class people have dignity, protections, care, and not just survive, but can really thrive in our lives. So I love DSA. I've been a proud member of DSA and was on the steering committee, welcoming hundreds and hundreds of members during my time as a membership coordinator in the chapter. Got to help set up the membership committee. Very proud. Love the work that we do in New York City. DSA has made me the political person that I am. It is my political home. And so if you have not joined DSA, if you are here on this call and you have been thinking about it, wondering if you should take the plunge, come on in. The water is fine. It is a great place to learn how to organize, to learn how to strategize, to think deeply about our politics, and to meet your neighbors, to meet people who care about a Green New Deal, Medicare for all, changing the world that we inhabit. So I'd absolutely encourage you, join DSA. I think there are links being dropped in the chat. If you're already a member of DSA, wow, amazing. Thank you so much. If you're not paying local dues, consider chipping in and making sure that our chapter can run. We have office spaces around the city now that we're opening up. We're paying staff to really beef up our political and comms work. And what we're building here in New York City is really incredible. It is a beacon of hope, not just for other people around the country, but really around the world. The international left is looking at what we're doing here in New York City. I'm grateful to have been part of it for years, and I'm so excited that in this moment, people are deciding to step in as well. So solidarity forever. Thank you, everyone who came out to volunteer. I can't believe we did it. It's amazing. Bye.
Thank you, Claire. I can't believe we did it either. It's been a really good day. So you heard Claire pitch you on joining DSA. If you are not a member, why not, man? Time to come in. We're on the up, and we need you to get even bigger. The other thing we're asking for tonight is to help build the chapter, the New York City chapter, with recurring donations. We'd love to build a national organization, and that is how you get voting rights as a member of DSA. But New York City DSA only gets a portion of the dues money that goes to national, and we're trying to do really big things in New York City. We need to get love the song. We need to get money for more office space. We're trying to expand to welcome in new members. We need more funding for more staff. We only have 2 staffers, guys. 2 staffers in the mayor and Gracie Mansion. That's kind of crazy. So we need more money to pay for staff. We're trying to get that ticker in the upper right-hand corner to $5,000 tonight. I really think we can do it. I hope you'll chip in. We'll check back on how this is going in a bit. But for now, we're going to dig into the breakdown of yesterday. What exactly happened? We know we won, but how did we win and where? So I'm going to hand things over to one of the chairs of our electoral working group, Osman, who will run us through that.
Yeah, thanks, Grace. Can we go to the next slide, please? So my name is Osman. I'm one of the co-chairs of New York City DSA Electoral Working Group, and I just want to tell everyone here a little bit about how we did last night. We won 2 congressional seats last night for socialist representation in New York City. Claire Valdez in New York 7 won by more than 20 points over our Working Families Party-backed opponent. And Daria-Liza Avila Chevalier won Uptown, Harlem, Bronx, Inwood, Washington Heights, etc. By 3.5 points over Espaillat. So last night, our members knocked our way to victory against the Working Families Party and the Congressional Progressive Caucus at the same time. So this means that NYC DSA members, we are the left. And so if you consider yourself a leftist in the United States of America, please hit that join button. Join DSA. Next slide, please. So we also won 7 state races, lost 1, Conrad Blackburn in Harlem, by a narrow margin, maybe 8 points. But Every other race, Abir Kawasi, Ian Huntley, Christian Celeste Tate, Iapa Sari Tupac, David Orkin, Samantha Catan, and Diana Moreno, all won by at least 18 points. So don't even try it. We control these areas. We won by massive margins. We have a democratic socialist mandate in New York City. Next slide, please. So in addition to the mayor, more than 3 million New Yorkers are now represented by socialists at multiple levels of government. And in some cases, that is every level government. So this is Greenpoint, Williamsburg, Bushwick, the People's Republic of Ridgewood, Fort Greene, East New York, Cypress Hills, Sunnyside, the People's Republic of Astoria, Long Island City, Richmond Hill, Ozone Park, Morningside, Harlem, Washington Heights, Inwood, the Bronx, Woodside, Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights, Lower Manhattan, Woodhaven, and probably more. Thanks so much. And now I'm going to pass it off to Jeremy for a geographic look at how we did.
Cool. Thanks, Osman. My name is Jeremy. I'm also on the electoral working group. And as you've been hearing on this call, one of the defining features of our movement is that our power comes from mass participation in our campaigns. The other side is money, but we have people. I learned that firsthand as a field lead on the Zoran campaign, and it was absolutely true again this year. So this is a really cool map we've been looking at. It lets you see the effects of our canvassing really clearly. So on the left, we're showing a map of where we won across all the races that Osman was just talking about. It's the fraction of votes that we won across the city. And on the right is where we knocked. So we're showing the total number of doors knocked, also all across the city. And the fact that these two maps are so similar is a sign that canvassing works. When we talk to our neighbors about our candidates and our movement, we win big. I want to share a couple other numbers about the scale of what we built this year. Next slide, please. So just to give some high-level numbers that are really exciting about what we're building, we had more than 10,000 canvassing shifts total. And together, we collectively knocked 720,000 doors. That's more than 3 times as many doors per capita that we knocked this year compared to last year. And that was accomplished by hundreds of field leads and thousands of canvassers. And that's not counting the thousands of phone calls we made, including the 2 epic phone banks that we did in the final 2 days of the campaign. Another really exciting number is that we had 4.2 thousand non-members, non-DSA members canvassing for the slate compared to 2.8 thousand members. So that's more non-members than members that we're canvassing, and we cannot wait to get all of these folks more involved in our project. So I'm now going to hand it to Genevieve to show some exciting data on where we can grow.
Hello, everybody. So many people in here probably used the DSA ballot and poll site lookup tool at dsa.nyc/vote. We were able to keep an anonymized log of the lookups for this. So we don't know like who looked up or even like what their apartment is, but we have like approximately what areas people were looking up things. And so we are able to see the concentrations of where people looked to have socialists on their ballot and, you know, entered their stuff in and said, are there socialists on my ballot? And we generated about 24,000 ballots over the course of early voting and election day from 14,000 unique devices, and about half of those came in on election day itself. I want to note the concentrations that you're seeing on the screen and mention that so our endorsed candidates, especially those who contributed to running ads to push this ballot lookup tool to help make it easier for people to find where and how to vote, they saw the most lookups in their areas, which makes sense. But if we start to look at the non-DSA represented districts where a lot of people were looking for socialists on their ballot, for state assembly, AD 53, Maritza Davila was very closely tied for almost second place for a number of ballot lookups. In a sea of like 5 socialists, she was quite up there. And in Congress, Hakeem Jeffries' district was the second most looked up, about twice as many times as Daria Liza's district, for people trying to find socialists on their ballot. And I think that this tool is great because it lets us know where people are trying to find socialism and where we might want to put socialism on their ballot in the future. And I really look forward to using all the district targeting stuff that we can to make plans about where to run socialists in future cycles.
Thank you, Genevieve. So now we're going to hear a bit from Tara about where we won in the city, and particularly the triumph of Black socialism this cycle. Tara, there you go.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Tara Jator. I'm a part of AfroSoc, which is the sort of Socialists of Color caucus within New York City DSA. We are an affinity group for Socialists of Color to connect, learn about our own history, and also organize as socialists within New York City DSA. First, I want to shout out that group of folks. They're an amazing group, and if you're a Socialist of Color, really hope that you come through. Okay, so really important night. You know, New York City DSA swept, but something else really important that happened is that we also doubled our representation of Black socialists in office. So last night we had Ian Huntley, Christian Celeste Tate, and Darilisa Avila Chevalier join, become socialists in office. And they joined our state assembly member, Ferris Front Forest, our state senator, Jabari Brisport, and our city council member, Chi Ose. So this is like a really important moment politically for Black people within sort of the broader left movement. You know, there's a lot of discourse around Black folks saying that, socialists can't, represent the Black community, that, socialists can't win in Black communities. And these folks are showing that socialists, are the future, that the future of, the multiracial working class is in socialists. And one way that we're seeing that is, now in Bed-Stuy, we have we have socialists representing Bed-Stuy residents at, New York City Council, the state Senate, and the state assembly. And one thing that we're doing as New York City DSA to think more critically about building with the multiracial working class is thinking about, building with those who are like most impacted by gentrification, and that is sort of leading in a lot of our organizing. So one thing I want to sort of highlight is that Ian Huntley and Jabari Brisport ran on the slate with Carmela Sherrington and Reverend Omar Hardy, who are leaders in the Stop Deed Theft Coalition, who beat Hakeem Jeffries backed incumbents for Bed-Stuy district leader. And so we're really trying to think to ourselves about what are things that, both strengthen the broader working class, but are also going to deeply impact Black communities. So thinking about what is, what's specific to folks, but also what is broadly universal. Another thing I want to sort of highlight is Conrad Blackburn. He was, unfortunately, the only member of our slate to not win his race, but even his race showed a lot of growth this cycle. So one thing I want to highlight for folks is that Conrad Blackburn had, for a state assembly race, almost $900,000 spent against him for a state assembly race, and he only lost that race by a margin of 600 votes. So he was able to show that a socialist message in the heart of Harlem is, frightens the establishment, that they are afraid of, a message that speaks to the multiracial working class, and will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, to defeat it. And so, I want to show give a lot of love to that campaign for doing something deeply intrepid, but for going against a deeply entrenched machine. And I believe that there is a strong foundation, that they built a strong foundation in this movement. Similarly, though, in Harlem, in Washington Heights, and Inwood, I want to also talk about our future Congresswoman, Darilisa Avila Chevalier, who has done, the incredible by, beating a 5-term incumbent in Adriana Espaillat. We saw a lot of really terrible anti-Black rhetoric thrown at Darilisa online and at the polls, but she was able to overcome this through a foundation of solid organizing. And one thing I also want to point out with Darilisa's race is that BUM has been, the fastest growing branch in our chapter this year. And speaking from an Afro-Soc context, when we put out events or parties or coffee with comrades for Afro-Soc in Bum during, Daria Lisa and Conrad's races, it was, we would see twice the number of RSVPs from socialists of color compared to, Brooklyn, or Brooklyn folks or other parts of New York. And so Bum, I realize, is the Bronx and Upper Manhattan branch. And another thing I want to highlight about Daria Lisa's race is the amount of organizers of color, that have come out of this race and have come out of the broader Black socialist slate. And so one thing I want to like really highlight is that these races, are not just building up folks, in the city council, in the state assembly, in the state senate, or in federal office. They're also building the next bench of leaders that are going to lead the left, not just, as leaders of color, as folks who are coming out of their communities to say what the working class actually deserves. So I'm really excited to welcome Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier, Democratic nominee for New York 13, to come up and speak and tell us a little bit about her own story.
Thank you so much, Tara. Daria had some trouble getting on. Daria Lisa, are you on? We couldn't find you. Okay, seems like that problem has not been resolved. Hopefully she can come back because Tara did such a wonderful job setting all of that up. So we will come back to that section. But instead, for now, we're going to move on to talk about what exactly we are building. So we had all these wins. Why are we winning? What are we fighting for at the federal level, but also at the state level, where we are going from 9 to 15 socialists up in Albany, New York's capital. And to kick us off from that, we are so excited to hear from one of those winners last night, Abir Kawas, who won in State Senate District 12. She's a community organizer and has spent years of her life fighting for working class New Yorkers, including developing Not on Our Dime, which is legislation that, when we pass it, will end New York's subsidy of Israel's illegal settlement expansion and state violence against Palestinians. Abir had a resounding victory last night and is going to become the first Palestinian New York State legislator in history. We are so proud of her win. We are so honored to be fighting alongside her, and I'm ecstatic to bring her onto the call. So, Abir, whenever you're ready. Abir, are you able to?
Okay, yeah, okay. Hey everyone, salam, peace. It's such an honor to be on this call tonight to celebrate this momentous win together. And I'm truly honored to be part of this movement. So let's talk about what we are going to do. Last year, we won a momentous people's victory. We shook the political establishment. And there were so many people who, when now Mayor Rondani won, thought that this was a fluke, but also the really important lesson that we were taking as a left was that he had to succeed. He had to succeed in order for us to really prove that as a left we can win races, but we can also govern in such an extremely competent way. And by this year, with us winning these state races, what we are showing is that we are going to sustain that victory. And we're sustaining that victory by winning more and more races and appealing to more and more voters. And we're also going to sustain that victory in the left, in state governance, because the way that we are going to pass the policies that Zoran Rondani promised to millions of New Yorkers is by getting the funding through the state legislature. And if we want faster free buses, if we want an expanded universal child care, if we want to really make sure that our public schools are funded, that our public housing is funded, we have to make sure that we're getting that funding through this.
Abir, you muted yourself, so we can't hear you anymore.
Okay, can you all hear me now?
Yes, and actually you sound better, so great.
Okay, great. Okay, apologies. I am in the beautiful Astoria Park celebrating this win with my family. But like I said, to sustain the people's victory, we have to get the revenue through the state legislature. So here are the very important things that we're going to do to win. We are going to pass the tax to rich policies. This is a set of policy priorities that will create income tax, corporate tax revenue that will fund things like universal transfer, that will fund things like fast and free transit, that will give us more funding to deal with, because we know in the state that so many legislators are compromising because they are dealt with a budget like one we got this year, where our governor presented the budget late, added discriminatory policies like buffers on bills in the budget, and was forcing legislators to negotiate the whole policies through the budget. So we're going to fight against it. We're also going to make sure that we're going to be great legislators in office. That is going to help us sustain the people's victory. And there's more for us to win. We need to win universal income. We need to win healthcare for all. The New York Health Act has been sitting in the state legislature for years, but it has not been passed. So I will say that when we have pitched ourselves to so many progressive endorsers, to union endorsers, we've asked, what differentiates you between another progressive? Because in our race, and specifically in my race, we proved that in the progressive realm, that we are the right choice, and we are the choice that voters want. But many people did not give us endorsements, many people did not support us because they were skeptical of our ability to actually gain things in office. Well, actually, in reality, if you look at the Socialists in Office project, so many of the bills that you will find on endorsement forms for some of the most progressive organizations, unions, they were almost 80% of them were actually sponsored or written or introduced by our Socialists in Office. So we are leaders. We are able to govern. And again, we are not going to allow ourselves to be left in this position where governor and leadership are going to be pushing us to shape their own policy priorities. Because what we prove when we win our races is that people will not continue to allow their elected officials to not stand up for justice, to not stand up to the right bills. And they will vote them out if they are not going to do so. And that is going to shake up the way that politics works in the state legislature. So we're going to sustain the people's victory by winning the policy. We are going to make sure that we're using this internal, external strategy that we have in our campaigns, and not just our electoral campaigns, but even our campaigns to tax the rich, our campaigns for the New York Health Act. We are using organizers on the ground and working with them to create the conditions for more policymakers to stand on and get those things passed. There is not a lack of good policy in state. There is a lack of political will to pass that policies, and we as Socialists in Office are the best equipped to make sure that political will is changing for the working class. Lastly, I will say in our campaign, if you compare us to our opponent, we had similar policy priorities. But the thing that people really, really respected about our campaign was that they felt confident in the political consistency and morality of our race. We ran an anti-war campaign. We ran a campaign that was in one of the most diverse communities, where we talked about diversity, not just in terms of representation, but we said if we're going to win amazing, affordable, the affordability agenda, affordability policies for our district and for New Yorkers, we're not going to do that at the expense of others. We said we're fighting for the world and the world's both. And we celebrated our diversity through international solidarity. We celebrated our diversity by not spearheading American exceptionalism, but making sure that the policies that will win, whether they're a climate policy, whether they're better salaries for people in our district, whether they're better working conditions, are not coming at the expense of others. And that was a message that resonated with so many voters. Lastly, I will say we made history with our race because inshallah, I will be the first Palestinian American elected official in New York State at large. And so many said that our campaign was just about Palestine. But we know that Palestine has always been a proxy. Palestine has been an issue that so many people have erased and not spoken about, and it has shown the moral clarity and consistency, or the lack of moral clarity and consistency of elected officials. And we showed that people want moral clarity and consistency. If they will trust legislators who are actually going to fight for them, they trust them to fight for them and to pass the policy for them because of their advocating for Palestinian human rights, they're advocating against war, they're advocating for international solidarity. These were all things that voters were looking for and resonated with voters. And this is a new chapter for us because we are building a politic, a true socialist politic in the electoral work that we do.
Thank you, Abir. We are so excited to get you into the state Senate, to be fighting for Palestinian liberation with you, and to be organizing a Socialists in Office project at the state level with you. But speaking of Socialists in Office, I believe we now have Daria Litza on the line. She, as well as Claire, are going to be joining AOC and Chris Rabb, and hopefully some other people. And oh my God, I didn't know we had another guest. Hello, great to see you. But Daria Litza, over to you. Please tell us about your race, about building uptown and building across the country.
Yeah, well, I am just so deeply grateful to every member of our coalition, but especially DSA and Justice Democrats, because I think y'all really, we built a dream team together, and I'm just so grateful for all the work that everyone put in. The amount of energy and love that was poured into building this movement and this campaign cannot be overstated. I'm really so deeply grateful. I came into this campaign with folks telling me that it was over before it even started, and that there was no way that we could take on a machine like Espaillat's, that there was no way that an organizer could build out a political electoral campaign. And together we built something out that people, even till the week before the election, were really underestimating. And we won, right? And I think that just speaks volumes to the power of organizing people. There were $7 million that were spent against me to attack me and my personhood, and not any of the policies that we were actually fighting for, because we know that those were actually really popular policies. There was a spill over here. But, these were critiques not of the policies, because we know that these policies are ones that are popular, that people want, that New Yorkers want, and that the people of New York 13 were hungry for. This is a politic that was actually part of the politic that is rooted in the history of that district, where you have so many socialist movements from people of color, so many of our giants in the Black radical tradition, in the Latino organizing tradition, were coming out of New York 13. And so it was just such a deep privilege to be able to organize around these principles in a community that has not been able to reap the benefits of that type of organizing in decades. And I'm just so excited to be able to build that out on a national level, to scale it, to address the issues that we're facing right now. And so deeply, deeply grateful to every single person who was part of this campaign. I think really the fact that we were able to bring together a coalition of organizations that were able to help build out an infrastructure, build out an organizing system, and make sure that we got all of the resources and people power needed to win here was so crucial. And so I came into this knowing that I wanted it to be part of building movement work, knowing that I wanted people to join their political homes. So if you are here and you're not a DSA member, join DSA, because I really want us to be able to build this people power that will help us deliver in the long run. Because this isn't just about the seat. It's not even about this one moment in history. It is about making sure that people are brought into our politics and find homes and political homes that they'll stay in. I'm so grateful. I want us to just take the time to join DSA, be a card carrying member. And we need more socialists, actually. We need more of them. We have actually another race coming up in Denver with Melat Kiros, who is facing an incumbent who is just as bad as Espaillat. So let's get that one out as well and get Melat in, because she's just an incredible human being, an incredible candidate. And I would be so honored to get to call her my colleague in Congress. So please make sure that you support her as well. Sign up to phone bank with her. Please support her. Also, donate to all of these races. We have a number of other races still coming up down the pipeline that we really, really need to support. And I think we need to do all the things that we did in my race. Whether that is going out to canvas in person, phone banking, donating, because it's so deeply important. Again, I was up against $7 million and we still beat that. And we can do the same in all these other races. But next in the pipeline is Melat, so please support her. And thanks. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, it's coming up on next Tuesday in Denver, Colorado. It's one of the youngest districts. I think it might literally be the youngest district in the country. Diane DeGette is a faux progressive that hasn't really moved the needle as much and hasn't really done right by her constituents. And they also have the same exact appetite that your district had as well. So many people outside kept saying over and over again, they're only in here every 4 years. They only see Adriana, and there's a real opportunity to make change here. So many people were activated by your campaign. They were so excited to be a part of it. And there were a lot of people who were asking, like, how can we support it, even if we're not in the district? And I think we did see a huge impact on the phone banking, especially at the final hour. And I think we can make that happen for Melat as well. I'm just here as her lawyer. That's why I'm sitting here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Very official. No. It's good. It's good. We didn't know you'd be on.
I didn't either.
But as y'all can see, so we dropped the chats from the links from a lot in the chat. Thanks in part to Hassan, actually, on Monday and Tuesday, we had 600 people on a phone bank, and we got over 1,300 positive IDs for Daria Litsa. Between the IDs we got on that phone bank and on the Tuesday phone bank, I'm just saying it was the margin of victory. So were the phone banks why we won? Maybe. You could do that from a lot. But you could also be powering what's happening in New York City. We got our tracker up. We know people love a tracker. I love a tracker. I'm tracker pilled. We want to get to 5,000 in recurring donations. That will allow us to get more than 2 staffers. We're doing all this with 2 staffers. We would love to do more with slightly more staffers. So please click in there. But Hassan, Dari, anything else y'all want to add before we move on?
I'm grateful to every single one of you who knocked on doors, who did a phone bank. So grateful to you, Hassan.
I didn't do anything.
You brought so many people out to that phone bank.
I didn't
undersell it. And I'm so grateful to every single person, because we really showed that you can have a vision and you can have fight in you and actually deliver for people. And so to everyone who wants to continue to do that work, please join DSA. Please just keep organizing, because we can build a better world together.
I will tell you this much. There are a lot of races out there, and there are a lot of fantastic DSA candidates all around the country that are running. You're obviously one of them. And for me, whenever I felt anxiety, I would hit up Michael Lang and I'd be like, give me something good. Tell me something good. And he was not telling me good things, I'll be honest with you. And he was wrong, luckily. Fraud. Anyway, but whenever I felt in any way, shape, or form anxious, I think the phone bank stuff that we did the last night, it really helped me. And I think it can help you guys as well. Whenever you feel like a race is close, or if you feel nervous about the outcome, you can be that change that you want to see, and it will soothe your anxiety. You will actually feel a lot better. And then when we get over the hump, then you can take credit for it a little bit too.
Amazing. Well, you heard it here, guys. Soothe your anxiety by joining DSA. So I'm going to bring on Alicia Singham Goodwin, who is one of our leaders, a steering committee member, and also a stalwart organizer uptown, a future constituent of Daria Litsa, to talk a little bit about what the chapter itself is doing, what we've been doing with electeds, what we're going to be doing for the next year, 2 years, 50 years of socialism. Alicia, come on over.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Grace. Like Grace said, my name is Alicia. I'm a DSA member living in Harlem. I was so thrilled to be able to cast my ballot for Daria Lisa. 10 years ago, when I started organizing in my neighborhood, I could never have imagined that one day my congressperson and my mayor would be fellow DSA members, people that I've met, that I've canvassed with, who I trust and look up to, who are committed to the same project as I am. But we've got more work to do. So how are we actually going to win on all the things that Abir talked to us about? And I'll say honestly, it's up to all of you. Nothing is a given right now. These electoral victories are truly exhilarating, but they're just one piece of building the power that we need to transform people's lives. So concretely, we're fighting to win the affordability agenda that we campaigned so hard for during Zoran's mayoral race. We are going to freeze the rent tomorrow. We've got a campaign for fast and free buses. We have to make the leap from the exciting Mayor's 2K pilot program to really universal childcare. And like Abir said, if we're going to do that, we need to have enough money by taxing the rich. And so next year in Albany, 2027 is going to be all about that. We'll have the same uphill battle that we've had every year we fought to tax the rich, but we're going in with double the number of our socialists in office and hopefully double the number of DSA members on the ground to really keep the pressure up. And who knows, if we grow and we build enough between now and then, the next year in 2028, we might be working on a campaign for a Democratic Socialist for president. You heard from everyone. We need you to join DSA. We need you to pay local dues, but I'm going to ask you to do something a little harder, which is to become an organizer. It's all about having conversations. If you, like me, were in the playground, in your elevator, chatting up everyone you know, saying, have you voted for Daria Lisa yet? I hope you'll go back to those same people and really talk about what we're building, ask them to join. And I will pass it back to Gustavo to close us out.
All right. I'm loving seeing the ticker go up. We've got 273 new DSA members since our victory last night. Since when we won the mayoral race, we got like 1,000 new members. So let's keep those numbers climbing. And I really want to highlight the donation goal. Monthly recurring donations in New York City DSA are how we fund our work. It's what makes everything possible. This cycle, around 2 weeks ago, probably some of you remember, we started to have a series of emergency all-member SNAP calls because we were getting alarming information from early voting records that young people were not turning out. We were also, the internal state of some of our campaigns were really not where we wanted them to be. And at the same time, we were facing a media environment that was kind of creating a sense of complacency. And we were able to quickly shift gears. We organized a series of large rallies. We had these huge phone banks with Hassan. We had the emergency meetings every week. We did community walks with Zoran, bar crawls. We went clubbing. We importantly got 90 Link NYC terminals to put up GeoTV ads for DSA throughout the city. All of that costs money to keep running, especially the Link NYC ads. And if we want to keep running candidates, if we want to be able to move quickly, if we want to get new office space so we can embed in multiracial working class communities in New York City, we're going to need to keep fundraising for the chapter. So I really encourage you all to take out your phones, scan these QR codes, and join our movement. Without all of you, without growing, none of this would have been possible. We knocked over 700,000 doors this year. We ran 10 campaigns, the biggest slate we've ever run. Let's keep it up. Let's hire more staff. Let's open new offices. And I'm really excited to see all of you there. and we're like $300 away or $200 away from our goal of 5,000. Can we actually get there?
1 minute from the call being over. So I think we can get there. I feel like we can get to $5,000 and 300 DSA members in a minute. I believe in us.
Also, this is these are monthly donations, right? So that's actually like $60,000 in 1 year, which is almost the salary for a staffer, or about half.
Okay. I don't want to end the call. Okay, 300 members. How's our donation ticker doing? Members are more important. We love members. That's the first step.
Oh, actually, the donation ticker is, we exceeded 5,000. It
Yeah.
just hasn't been updating.
Listen,
Okay,
we're
cool.
like the establishment.
We did it.
Moving the goalposts. Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We are so excited. More to come. More socialism to build in New York City and across the country. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone.
Solidarity, comrades.
Okay, we're leaving. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. Well, on Saturday, if you guys are new to the channel, you might not know that on Saturdays we do a stream called Socialism Saturday, where we watch the real far left normally. But last Saturday, we watched a presentation from Hillsdale College, how Antifa is funded. And I need to clip this presentation up because it was the most completely unserious presentation I've ever seen. And one of the very real arguments that Hillsdale College made in that presentation was that the DSA is funded by Neville Roy Singham, the CCP, NGOs, USAID, and all sorts of other, and Soros. I'm sorry, and Soros. I can't forget Soros. Let me ask you guys this. Let me put the chat on the screen. Hang on. Let's change our screen so you guys can see yourself talk. We can take that away now. Let me ask you guys this. We just watched an hour-long organizing call with the Democratic Socialists of America, the New York City chapter. In the time that we were on that call, of which there was over 1,000 people watching, which, by the way, the GOP would never be able to hit those numbers. The GOP can't even get 1,000 people at CPAC, let alone 1,000 people on a regular basis on an organizing call. Like, that is people might think, well, it's a celebration call. It's a big call, Carlin. So, of course, there's more people there. I've been a dues-paying member of the NYC DSA for like 2 years. I don't know exactly when I joined, but I joined a while ago. I'm not under my real name, so they can't do shit about it. I just keep paying the money. They just keep sending me like private webinar links. And in that time, the only way I've seen the NYC DSA raise money is through dues and through fundraising. And I have to just ask you guys, do you guys, one in the chat, if you agree with, after watching that call, after seeing directly that the DSA in New York City just got 310 new members, which, by the way, the dues are on a sliding scale. It could be $5 a month. It could be $15 a month. It could be more if you want to pay more. They just got 310 new dues paying members, and they raised on the call $6,686 a month. Times 12, that is $80,000 over the course of the year. That is how they are funded, guys. That is how the DSA in New York City specifically is funded. And I think I mentioned this earlier on the stream, but I'll say it again just for the recording, I suppose. When you are a member of the DSA, you're supposed to pay dues to the national DSA and also the local DSA. So in addition to paying the dues of the NYC DSA, so I can get into their organizing meetings, I also pay dues to the National Democratic Socialists of America. And that is a completely different type of fundraising. The National Democratic Socialists of America, again, they have the same thing. They pay average dues of, we're going to play a game called Fun with Math. The average dues paying member of the National Democratic Socialists of America donates $15 a month times 100,000 dues paying members. That is $1.5 million a month at a minimum, just by dues paying members paying $15 a month on average. Some are paying more, some are paying less. Times 12 for 12 months in the year, that is $18 million a year. These organizations, the Democratic Socialists of America, both on the national level and the local level, especially in bigger cities like New York City, it's not true everywhere. There are many lesser populated areas of Democratic Socialists, but in the bigger areas, they do not need funding from the CCP, which goes against their political ideology to begin with. They do not need funding from NGOs. They do not need funding from USAID. They do not need funding from George Soros. George Soros does not fund socialists. He funds progressives and liberals. So let me ask you guys this. Based on watching this directly, seeing for yourself, that was a live meeting. I didn't make any of that up. I didn't create that. You saw the fundraising happening right in front of you. $6,686 in new dues every single month was raised on that call. Again, that is what? $80,000 over the course of the year. One in the chat if you agree with Hillsdale College that the DSA is funded by Soros and the CCP and all the other ones. Two in the chat if you think that maybe they're funded by dues paying members and then they do additional fundraising on top of it. So even those numbers I gave you, that's just for dues paying members. That doesn't count the additional fundraising on top of it, of which they are getting very, very good at. One in the chat if you think that Hillsdale College was telling the truth when they said, and literally this is in their presentation, they said the Democratic Socialists of America, I forget exactly, I think it was the CCP one. I think they said they were funded by Neville Roy Singham and the CCP or something like that. I'd have to go back to find the specific wording. But what Hillsdale College sure as shit did not say is the DSA is funded by dues-paying members and fundraising that comes in small donations via those same members that are already paying dues to the national organization and the local organization and doing additional fundraising on top of it. And this is why every single time conservatives say, like Dan Bongino, every single time they perpetuate the myth, these people don't have jobs. Of course they have fucking jobs. Every single time I do something like this, I get asked by conservatives, well, where did they get the money for those dues? They have jobs. If you really think that a group of people doesn't have a job, it probably doesn't occur to you that some of their largest organizations, some of their most effective organizations are funded by small donations from those jobs from a really massive group of people that by throwing in $5 a month, $15 a month, whatever, they can literally fund the revolution. This is why these lies are so dangerous. This is why the brainwashing that has gone on from conservative media has made their audience functionally retarded and is not able to understand what the left is doing, because it doesn't even occur to them that socialists would have money from jobs. We learned some other interesting things in that meeting. The number one thing, this is exactly what I said to Owen Schroyer. This is also, by the way, I posted a video short of this earlier today. I would really appreciate if you guys could help me share this on Twitter. Can you guys like retweet this and reply to this and all this thing? This is a video I made earlier today, basically explaining in 3 minutes why the DSA won and like the data behind the last time. And basically what I said in this video, and it's also what I said on Owen Schroyer's show, was that they won because of the fundamentals. They literally won because of the fundamentals. And I know you can talk about messaging, and I don't disagree with Owen's point on the messaging. I think the messaging also is highly effective to the audience. But if you have a highly effective message, but you aren't out doing the work, knocking on doors, making phone calls, you saw them say it. It was the phone bank over the last 2 days that won that one race from what is her name? What is her name? Daria Lisa and Hassan Piker himself, who, it was so funny that he just showed up out of nowhere on that call. Breaking news. Probably because he's trying to take credit for it, even though it's not something he did. And I maintain this position. Hassan, that is like the second time I have been watching the far left in the DSA for 5 fucking years. That is like the second time that I've seen Hassan Piker. Out of all the DSA meetings that we've ever watched, and again, we're watching them in New York City, we have been for years, I have seen Hassan Piker twice in all of that time. So, and it just happened to be today when Owen was like, isn't this because of Hassan Piker? No, Hassan Piker is trying to take credit for it. He's trying to make it look like he was in proximity, but we have never seen Hassan Piker on an NYC DSA call before. It has literally never happened. Like Reagan, who watches all this content with me, didn't even know what Hassan Piker looked like. If Hassan Piker, I promise you, if Hassan Piker had shown up in other places, Reagan would have known what he looked like. So it's kind of a funny thing, but I don't want people to read too much into that. No, this was not Hassan Piker's doing at all in any way, but he's a content grifter on the internet. What do you want him to do? He's going to cozy up to these people, right? Because he wants the credit for it when in fact he didn't really do anything. Well, no, they really didn't, though. They actually didn't. No. See, this is what we call making shit up. They didn't say that Hassan Piker was responsible for this. They said, oh, Hassan Piker, how nice you're here. They didn't give him credit for it. That didn't happen. This is why we can't make shit up, guys. We can't invent things that didn't happen. We can't invent things that weren't said. If they were giving Hassan Piker credit, I promise you, I'm sorry, did you not notice they had an entire slide deck explaining why they won? Do you want to know why I know this was not Hassan Piker's doing? The DSA just walked us through a slide deck. No, they didn't. Okay, hang on. Pay close attention to the instructional video. Pay close attention.
You take your top lip and connect it to your bottom lip, you will shut the fuck up. Sometimes shutting the fuck up is the best thing you can do.
It doesn't fucking matter what Hassan Piker says. What matters is the DSA in New York City is not giving him credit in any way. And the reason, okay, so you just got put in a timeout. You don't talk back to me on my channel. Sorry. When I tell you, by the way, for all new people, I'm being extremely nice to you today. When When I tell you to shut the fuck up and listen, what I need you to do is shut the fuck up and listen to what's being said, because you're yapping instead of listening, and you're spewing bullshit in the chat because you aren't listening. And literally, if you just shut the fuck up, you will be able to understand this, but you have to listen. I can't force you to listen unless I time you out when you're being a retard yapping in my chat, when your mouth should be shut, your top lip should be attached to your bottom lip, and you should be listening. The DSA in New York City just gave us an entire presentation about how they won. What Hassan actually said is the DSA tactics were helpful to him. The DSA phone banks were helpful to him. No one said that Hassan Piker was helpful to them. What they said in their full slide deck outlining, here is why we won, was that they knocked on 720,000 doors. Do you know how insane that is? They knocked on over they have so many people volunteering for these campaigns. They knocked on over 700,000 doors for local races. These are local congressional seats for the most part. That's insane. They were doing phone banks all the time. I can't tell you how many text messages I have from these people talking about phone banks, how many emails I have from these people talking about phone banks. It wasn't just that they were phone banking in the last 2 days. Well, it's the same election machine. So Zoran Mandami had over 50,000 individual volunteers. I don't know how many individual volunteers they had because they didn't tell us. Probably less than the mayor's race, if we're being honest about it. But still, you need a significant number of people to knock on over 700,000 doors. They were doing phone banks all the way leading up to it, which meant they had volunteers making phone calls all over New York City. That is how they won. And it was exactly like how Zoran Mandami won. They knocked on doors. With Zoran, they registered new voters and they did voter turnout drives and they made phone calls. And they did a lot of fundraising. The DSA has been fundraising to run local candidates for office on a national level, not just on a local level, on a national level for like at least half of last year. And they were actually having a lot of success with it. The DSA was doing, like, again, at the national level, was doing phone banks of DSA members calling other DSA members, asking them to give a donation, asking them to up their donation or whatever. This is a social activity for them. They get together. This happened on so many DSA organizing calls. They got together, they had a meeting, and then immediately after the meeting, they went into the phone bank. How many DSA calls did we see where there was an organizing meeting, literally just like the one that we just watched, where they had their meeting, and then they said, hey guys, now we're going to go do a phone bank. Can you join us for the next hour and make calls? And they have a virtual system that they send out to people on the call, so you can do this from anywhere. They give you a script. I've posted about this stuff on the internet. When we see this stuff, we actually we sabotage them. Whenever we see the DSA giving out like a phone number to do phone banking, we literally post it on the internet and say, hey guys, do you want to go call DSA people for fun? So pay attention to my Twitter, because that's happened at least twice. So they were going right from the organizing meeting into the phone banking. So that is how they're doing it, guys. It is really the fundamentals. And of course, they do also have a messaging that appeals to their audience. And I don't think the anti-Israel, anti-Zionist messaging is insignificant. I think a lot of people are pissed off at Israel. I think a lot of people are pissed off at AIPAC. I think a lot of people are pissed off at Trump over the war. There's a lot of messaging that they can use to get these people elected. And that's reality. It's not a conspiracy. It's not a rigged election. The DSA in New York City outworks both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party combined. That is why they're winning. And what the DSA nationally is doing is trying to export what is working in New York City all over the country. And that's why you saw so many other socialists win last night. Because they have focused entirely on an electoral machine. And you heard them say this on this call. This is not an electoral machine that was built overnight. They have been building this electoral machine since AOC in 2016. And they've learned and they've improved and they've learned and they've improved and they've had so many rounds of running candidates now that they have a very well-trained volunteer community of highly intelligent and strategic political operatives. And I'm going to thank you guys for those channel memberships and super chats that you sent in. Just let me cook for a second. I appreciate all of you guys, though. You guys rock. You heard them talk about it on the call. Part of their goal is for experienced political and campaign people to teach all the new people coming into the DSA. And over the course of doing this for 10 years, they've created a massive pool of highly intelligent, strategic actors. These people are not mentally ill. These people are not paid protesters. And again, it's like these people have jobs. That's how they're giving money. Not only are they giving money, they're also volunteering on top of that. This is why the lies that conservative influencers tell are so dangerous. If you think that people are mentally ill, do you expect them to engage in highly strategic organizing over the course of a decade to build a completely independently funded election machine to win local office? Do insane people do that? So then why are we calling them insane? It is, if you watched that meeting that we just watched and you came away thinking they're mentally ill, I just don't think you're high IQ enough to be in my community. We have standards here. We have standards here. Well, no, we're really not. We're really not. The Civil War is not going to be red versus blue. It's not going to be Democrat versus Republican. Republicans are too fuck off lazy to ever leave their house for any reason, and you think they're going to go to civil war? That's not going to happen. The Civil War is radical revolutionary socialists versus the government. That is the Civil War. That is the Civil War that's going to happen, and when it starts, it's going to be over quick. Because right now what the left is doing is they're getting all their chess pieces into place. I said on Owen's show, and I mean this, I've outlined this many times. I believe firmly we are 10 to 15 years away from the left trying to violently overthrow the government. Everything they have done over the past 50 years leads in that direction. Every piece of evidence of what I've seen them say over the thousands of hours that I've been watching them, every single thing leads in that direction. And when they do it, because this is such a long-term plan, and they have so effectively infiltrated, and they have so outplayed the right at every single level, the Civil War is radical revolutionary socialists versus the government, and the left is going to win, and I don't even think it's going to be that difficult for them to do so. Because, yeah, they've infiltrated the military. Duh. Duh. So that is reality, guys. That is reality. These are not mentally ill people. These are not paid protesters. These are not lazy people with no jobs. These are highly strategic political operatives that are doing this because their value system is fundamentally different than yours. And they believe the only way for everyone to be free and for all the problems of the world to be solved is to overthrow capitalism. And when they say capitalism, they mean the United States government and the Constitution. And Owen asked me earlier on the show, he said, well, do you like the government? Would it be a bad thing if the government was overthrown? In my heart of hearts, I'm an anarcho-capitalist. So do I like the government? Fuck no. Fuck no. However, my vision for a world without the current government is not remotely the same as a narco-communist vision for the world without a government. They mean something very specifically when they say the government. It is the capitalist government. They want to upend every part of our system, and I don't think their ideas are very good, and I think it will lead to mass starvation and suffering and death. So even though I am not necessarily the biggest fan of the government, and Lord knows I think the Constitution, well having positive intent, might not be the most effective thing if we're trying to solve this problem of people trying to overthrow the government in our midst. I think a much worse solution is communism. So if I have to choose between current US government and communism, I choose current US government. Okay? It's not perfect. There are many flaws. There are many things I would change. If I could wave a magic wand and get rid of it and institute an anarcho-capitalist utopia like Ancapistan, and that was actually something that could happen, which it never will, by the way. That's never going to happen. But if I could do that, I would. However, that is not reality. Reality is, right now, our choice is going to come down to current system, although massively flawed and in desperate need of improvement, or revolutionary communism. I'm not going to live in a world of fucking rainbows and unicorns where I say, yeah, but I could get Ancapistan. It's not going to happen. It is not realistically going to happen. Have you ever tried to organize with libertarians? I have. I did it for 2 years, and I have now divorced myself from that entirely because it is a massive fuck off waste of time. Unlike the libertarians and unlike the right, the left is highly organized. They're highly strategic. The DSA is not remotely the worst group that we look at. The DSA is probably one of the least dangerous groups that we look at on the whole. Because at least the DSA still believes in elections. The DSA is not going to violently try to overthrow the government. The DSA are what we call reformist socialists, where they're going to get elected to office and try to make incremental reforms over time. Still not good. I'm not saying the DSA is good. However, if you stick around the channel, you're going to learn there are many, 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 many leftists that are significantly farther left than the DSA. The DSA are largely nonviolent. That's not to say members won't say things here and there. There's a lot of members in the DSA, but they are largely nonviolent. Antifa considers the DSA to be traitors. Real revolutionary socialists, and I have them on video saying this explicitly, real revolutionary socialists consider the DSA to be traitors. I have a guy from the Seattle Revolutionary Socialists on video saying that DSA are their biggest enemy because the DSA are directly inhibiting violent revolutionary tendency. The real far left does not disavow violence. DSA does mostly disavow violence. Party for Socialism and Liberation mostly disavows violence. There are many people on the left who actively denounce nonviolence and are openly saying, we tried this protesting stuff, we tried this election stuff, it didn't fucking work, fuck that, they don't believe in it, blah blah blah, it doesn't change anything, we need violent overthrow. They say this explicitly, guys. So it gets much worse than this, but this is what's in the news cycle for the moment. So let me ask you guys this. One in the chat if you are glad that you stuck around for a live infiltration of a Democratic Socialist of New York organizing call. 2 in the chat if watching that was a big waste of time. 1 in the chat if you're glad you stuck around and you watched the full organizing call and you saw directly for yourself what they're saying, how they're doing it, all that stuff. 2 in the chat if that was a big waste of your time. Guys, tonight we did a rare public spy stream. Most of the time when we do things like this, and we do spy stream quite often, it is usually a supporter exclusive. It is usually reserved for channel members, Substack supporters, Twitter subscribers, local supporters, Patreon supporters. Whatever platform you support on, you get access to it. But usually what we did tonight is a supporter exclusive. That is why, to fund my work, I ask people give out channel memberships so we can make channel membership available to as many people as possible to come and see the spy streams, because usually it just creates many less problems if I just do it behind a paywall. But every once in a while, I like to do a little public treat, and it was a good day to do it because we had new people on the channel. So you guys can get a taste of what spy stream is like. We do those all the time. Sometimes spy streams last for days at a time, literally. So if you like this sort of stuff, come back, join us. Love for you guys to be here. Let me see. I got a couple last super chats and memberships and things. Old Sub came in with another 20 while we were on the call. Thank you for that, Old Sub. Really appreciate it, getting us over our channel membership goal for the day. John, thank you for the super chat. Carlin really motivates me with her content. You look great with those glasses and necklace. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it. Very nice of you to say. Anthony, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it, bro. We got Maria Callas fan in New York City. Democratic primary winners win the general. Ours should rally around Democratic centrists. We have closed primaries, yet dummies think it matters more to own the libs and register Republicans than gain influence. I don't know. I'd like to see the Republicans actually put up a real fight, but they won't. They've taken their toys and gone home. It's over. It's over. We got another one from Maria Callas fan. GOP won't even register D to vote for the centrists. That's a good point. They could register as a Democrat for the primary and then turn back. To block DSA from general election participation. Good point. Good point. I'm on your side there. They could. W's to you, Malcolm. Thank you so much. W's to you, Little Miss. Guys, thanks to everyone who gave 102 new channel memberships today. Thank you for helping me hit the membership goal. Now, as a reminder, tomorrow, I'm getting on a jet plane and I'm going to a super secret location where I will be doing super secret things. What that means is I will be streaming while I'm gone. So I'm not going completely dark. I will be doing streams. However, I don't know what time I'm doing them. I will be away Thursday through Monday. Okay. I should be doing streams. But if you don't hear from me, don't worry. I'll probably be on Twitter, something like that. But it is my intention to stream as much as I can while also doing other things that I want to do. Okay? So I have to travel tomorrow. I may do a stream tomorrow night. Just be flexible. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you for allowing me the support with the channel memberships and the super chats to do what I do. You guys are the very best audience on the internet. I really believe that. And bon voyage. I'll see you guys when I see you. Take care. Have a good one. We'll see you soon.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here? 3 months, May 17th. And what brought you here? That's difficult to answer. influence my thinking and consequently my action.
What is it you're trying to do with your life?
Play the piano for the people.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.